Welcome to Staples.
Staples Guy, I've resolved to save my office money in 2017.
Well, during Staples' January printing event, you save big when you buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off.
Oh, that kind of savings will impress the boss. Maybe this year he'll stop calling me New Guy Nick.
Well, there are worse nicknames.
I've worked there 6 years, and my name's Doug.
Resolve to save during Staples' January printing event. Buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off. Staples, make more happen.
Ends 1/14/17. See store staples.com for details. Restrictions may apply.
I am Vampiro. Hey, what's up, players? This is Teddy Long. Hey, this is Nick Aldis, a.k.a. Magnus.
This is Michael Tarver, a.k.a. Monster Tarver.
This is Tito Santana. This is Donovan Dijak from Ring of Honor.
This is Eric Young.
Hey, this is Rich Bocchini, formerly known as Rich Brennan from WWE. You are listening to Main Event Madness.
Tell it I've been gone too long. To hear them talk about me, say I'm doing wrong. But I've been on my own since 15. Only death in jail before me. Drag my name through mud and I still come out clean. I get faded, I get let loose sometimes. I get wasted, they say I'm gonna lose my mind. Spend all day long the same old song. Beat my demons down by the crossroads. I get faded, and I don't give a fuck if you call me a rebel. Call me a rebel.
I am Vampiro. Hey, what's up, players? This is Teddy Long. Hey, this is Nick Aldis, a.k.a. Magnus.
This is Michael Tarver, a.k.a. Monster Tarver.
This is Tito Santana. This is Donovan Dijak from Ring of Honor.
This is Eric Young.
Hey, this is Rich Bocchini, formerly known as Rich Brennan from WWE. You are listening to Main Event Madness.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah!
And now, coming live from blogtalkradio.com and presented by Wrestling-News.net, it's Main Event Madness. Madness Unleashed. You can chat with us during the show using the hashtag MEM Live on Twitter or Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. And now, here are your hosts for tonight's show, John Curry, Mark Madison, and Mike Holland.
All right, folks, welcome to Main Event Madness, August 11th edition of the broadcast. Sorry so much, guys. I'm beyond upset at the fact that we're half an hour late, guys. But whoever is around to tune in, we greatly appreciate anybody. And nonetheless, guys, like I said, August 11th edition of the broadcast. I am joined tonight, before we get any further, by one of my co-hosts that you can hear with me each and every week. He's a writer and a columnist for TGIWrestling.net, Mike Holland. Mike, how are you, man?
Hi, John. How are you?
During the next commercial break, I'm going to get a beer. I know that. I think what it is, I think I was just telling Chris, I think the two mic slot, or the headphone jack, the one for the recording, one for the headphones. I think the recording one, and my computer's shot. which is just what I need. And speaking of Chris, filling in for my other co-host, Mark Madison, is a guy who's no stranger to the wrestling podcast. You guys heard him about 6 months ago here on the broadcast. He used to have a couple of his own shows, notably Force of Wrestling, which was a dominant podcast in the I guess you could say the primal days of wrestling podcasts when there weren't a dime a dozen. Force of Wrestling, Al Merriman and Chris Dunfee, they tore the house down for years. And also he had his own show called Dunphy's Dose for Force of Wrestling and AT Sports. Chris Dunfee, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. I'm glad to be back. I hope you guys are doing well. Sorry, John, with all the BS you had to go through before the show with the mic, but thankfully we're all here and ready to go and get this rocking and rolling.
Yeah, we joke about it for a long time. Al used to here, and I've done it because it's happened. It wouldn't be Main Event Madness if there wasn't some kind of audio problem. But nonetheless, guys, we got a lot to get to in the now abbreviated hour and a half. Sorry, Evan. We're going to open up the show in a few minutes with, few moments, I should say, with our new segments called Who Won the Week between Raw and SmackDown. We're going to talk about that. We've got the state of the NXT roster and who could step up. You look at the roster for NXT, and it's a very heel-heavy roster. Who could step up to help out with that as a babyface? We're going to talk about our opinions on that. The state of the brand split, and a few other things mixed in there. Guys, but if you want to talk with us during the show, use the hashtag MEM Live on Twitter. And at the beginning of the show, you guys heard our new intro theme is Rebel by the band Shallow Side, which you guys can follow them on Twitter and like them on Facebook at Shallow Side Band. You can check out their music on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify as well. That's their brand new single that just came out a couple of weeks ago, and the band was nice enough to let us use that legally, I should say. So thank you to Shallow Side for that, and we will be hopefully this is the beginning of some success for us with working with them down the line for sure. But let's go to our new segment, Who Won the Week. I'm going to go to Chris first. Chris, did you watch Raw and SmackDown Live this week, first off?
I watched Raw, but unfortunately my DirecTV decided it wanted to go out Tuesday afternoon, early evening, around 5 or 6 p.m. So unfortunately I was unable to watch SmackDown this week. But from the results I read, I would probably have to give the edge to Raw without seeing SmackDown. But, yeah, I really didn't get a chance to watch SmackDown this week, unfortunately. But from what I saw from Raw, it seemed like a solid show. Not anywhere near, the level it was the first week of the brand split, but still a solid show overall with a little bit of a disappointing main event angle. But, like I said, for the most part, I really didn't get to see SmackDown, so I would love to hear you guys elaborate more on how you guys felt about the secondary show.
And that's just what it was this week, Chris. You really didn't miss anything on SmackDown Live. And Mike, I want your thoughts on this, but I thought it was a very down week for WWE this week. First off, actually, we'll get to SmackDown in a minute. But Mike, I want to get your thoughts on Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and Kevin Owens all appearing on Raw, none of them wrestling. Cesaro wrestled twice, which isn't a bad thing. But Rusev was in 4 fucking segments.
Tell us what you really think. I would say actually,
3.5 too many.
That's a very good way to put it.
I started a new article this week, which is kind of funny, that actually went up today on TJR Wrestling, and it's about this very topic, which is like week to week looking at Raw and SmackDown and seeing, has the WWE accomplished what they've set out to do? I think Chris hit the nail on the head. Like, SmackDown has always been the secondary show, and there's no bones about that. That's kind of why the brand split didn't work the first time, is nobody wanted to watch a SmackDown-only pay-per-view, and certainly didn't want to go to a SmackDown-only house show. So, knowing that, are they going to do things differently this time? And, you and I have discussed previously, John, it didn't start out too well for SmackDown with the disadvantages that they have, not getting the cruiserweights, having one less hour, which I guess could be an advantage or disadvantage, depending on whether Lana's getting married or not that week. But I will tell you that, in my opinion, watching both shows, and I agree with you, I don't think it was by any means a banner week. I actually thought SmackDown had the better show, and mainly because
I do agree.
They teased, at the beginning. Go ahead.
No, I'll say it after. I didn't mean to cut you.
I was just going to say. Yeah, no problem. They started out with on SmackDown with setting up, continuing the Ambrose Ziggler, match, and they threw Bray Wyatt in there, which is always good for a crazy promo or two. And they also then set up Del Rio and Randy Orton, which again kind of worked because you knew Lesnar wasn't going to be on the show. And I'm not going to tell you that anything on SmackDown was fantastic, because it wasn't. In fact, I actually think Cesaro, which you also alluded to, I think overall, as far as who had the best, week or half week of WWE, Cesaro showed why the guy is phenomenal with a really good Monday. The problem is, you hit the nail on the head. The talent was just not there. And I, of course, don't know the reasoning for some of the people who weren't there both shows. But SmackDown had, no John Cena, no AJ Styles, who were supposed to have this huge, match coming up that we're supposed to care about. And Raw.
Well, that part was the Cena AJ part. And I don't know if Raw was affected by that. Was the New Zealand and Australia tour they're doing?
Okay. Yeah.
Cena and AJ had already left for that.
Well, was Cena not on Raw for the dark match this past week?
It wasn't a dark match. Cena and AJ, it was really weird. Cena and AJ, right after the Jericho segment, I think it was, right after the opening segment, came out in the commercial break. AJ Styles came out, I guess was cutting a promo. Cena came out, kicked his ass, and that was the end of the segment during the commercial break.
On Monday Night Raw?
Yes.
Right, which nobody saw unless you were at Monday Night Raw.
But still, come on. I mean, why not? I don't know.
Right. Why have the two biggest, guys on SmackDown? Yeah, exactly. And by the way, so agree with everything we're talking about. Like the Seth Rollins segment without having Finn there, it was very talk heavy, Raw. So there were some good moments, there were some good matches, but it suffered. And my big pet peeve is they made such a big deal out of this brand split, and then they immediately bring Daniel Bryan onto the show, and they pump it big time. Oh, Mick Foley invited Daniel Bryan, and what's going to happen? And it was basically a total horrible segment. I mean, it was great that Cesaro got to wrestle as a result of it for the title, but the segment itself was dead as a doornail. So,
in my opinion, the best part of that segment was Daniel Bryan saying about how Cesaro is being criminally underutilized on Raw. That was pretty much the highlight of that segment on Raw on Monday night.
Part of me is wondering if they're building to something, and I think I alluded to it on my Twitter during Raw. I did some live tweeting. If this doesn't lead to a Sheamus versus Cesaro loser leaves Raw match, I'm going to be very disappointed, because that's kind of where it seems like this is going, or where it should go.
Right.
And watch Sheamus will end up losing. Cesaro will end up winning, and he'll stay on Raw.
I think Cesaro, I think Raw needs, that's the thing. I think I'm in the minority, too. Raw needs Cesaro. That's the problem. Raw is a very weak roster when it comes to baby faces, because you have Finn Balor, Cesaro, Roman Reigns.
Sort of.
Either of you guys want to help me out here? Sort of, yeah.
Well, but then again, if you look at the SmackDown side of things, after Dean Ambrose, you have Randy Orton and John Cena, who, with Randy Orton's injury and drug history with the wellness policy, how dependable is he really? And John Cena is doing so much as it is, going in between brands so far and making all these other outside appearances. So it's like, who really is there on the SmackDown end after Dean Ambrose, with Randy Orton and John Cena pretty much on the unknown? And it appears that Ziggler might be turning heel as we're leading into SummerSlam. So, I mean, I don't know. Apollo Crews? I don't know. I mean...
Yeah. You know who's not, and I was pissed that he wasn't even on Raw. You know, a guy who could capitalize with the babyface absence on Raw or SmackDown, Sami Zayn. And they saddled him with a fucking main event. They saddled him with a main event appearance. It's like,
I thought it was a Superstars appearance.
Well, whichever show it was, but...
Yeah. Oh, I agree either
that
way.
That guy could be one of the top baby faces of the company, and you're done feuding with Kevin Owens. Okay, well, we need you on Superstars to face El Local, and Jobber McDonald in a triple threat loser retires match.
I would say to you, John, like I would think in that situation, I mean, look, WWE does not have a good track record with guys that get crowd reaction that they didn't decide, merited that. I mean, I know, this is something we might get to later, but this is the Damian Sandow experiment all over again. This is a guy with Sammy who gets basically the entire crowd involved in one way or another. And they couldn't see fit in a 3-hour show that was heavy on talking and Scooby-Doo and a promo for Ben-Hur, the movie. They couldn't find a way to squeeze a Sami Zayn match in when the guy's been tearing the house down and everything he's done. I mean, what?
All right, can I make 2 points on the Sami Zayn and Ben-Hur thing? Number one, till I die, I will take this to my grave that I absolutely hate Ben-Hur. When I was in 4th or 5th grade, we went on a field trip to an IMAX theater. And I'm all hype and everything, my first trip to an IMAX theater. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the original Ben-Hur from back in the 50s or 60s or whenever the hell it was. But I had to sit on this field trip for 3.5 hours and watch this damn movie. And that, oh my God, bored to tears, probably the worst day of school I've had in my life. Anyway, though, going back to Sami Zayn, to me, I believe he should be in I honestly don't know. I mean, with Sami, it's just weird how Kevin Owens is now thrown into this thing with Chris Jericho, and then, I mean, it just makes me wish Sami Zayn maybe would have went to SmackDown, because I think he would have been perfect to take on The Miz for the Intercontinental title on SmackDown instead of an Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at these, and you guys are making both good points. And Chris, I'm very sorry about your Ben-Hur experience. If it makes you feel better, I almost
absolutely
every time I saw the commercial.
Oh man.
But I
brutal.
was writing this down while you guys were talking, and do either of you remember the brand split in 2002, the original draft?
Yeah.
Sure.
These rosters, maybe not SmackDown, but definitely Raw, are very reminiscent of the 2002 Raw, where you have the one or two big names, the group, the solid worker, and the megastar that's not there. That was The Undertaker, you had the NWO, you had Bradshaw, you had Kane, and then the megastar that was there, Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was 2002. Now you've got Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, Cesaro, New Day and filling the role of Stone Cold Steve Austin's Brock Lesnar.
Right.
And I think WWE, this brand split was a good idea, but I think the timing has always been WWE's Achilles heel.
Absolutely.
And I think if they really wanted to, they were going to completely raid NXT, but because of Brooklyn, they can't. And
Right.
it's just, I was looking at these and I'm like, the rosters are really thin for Raw, and I thought it was a very babyface heavy roster, but it's actually, or heavy, heel heavy. It's actually babyface heavy roster because you got Balor, Reigns, Cesaro, Sammy, New Day, Enzo and Cass, Darren Young, among others. And then for heels, you got Rollins, Lesnar, Rusev, Gallows, Anderson, and Sheamus. Am I missing anybody?
Well, John, did you mention Sheamus?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't stand his red. John knows my feelings on Sheamus going back to Force of Wrestling.
Well, we all know why Sheamus, is doing anything, which is because he's buddies with Trips. But I would just say to you, John, here's the thing, okay? You hit the nail on the head. I said at the time of the brand split, I thought the timing was right to do something really cool with NXT, where because of the Cruiserweight Classic, all this stuff, you've got all this talent or possible talent, depending on who they sign and don't. And they should have made one roster heavy on the NXT talent, in my opinion, because the problem is these guys are not, depending on who it is, and I think, again, not speaking for the two of you, but there's been a lot of huge positive buzz about the Cruiserweight Classic, NXT, the show that these guys and girls are putting on. And they really, when they bring these folks to the main roster, not a lot of people know them. So that's been the problem for Finn Balor, is this week they did a promo with him and a smoke machine where he talked about...
I absolutely love that, by the way. I absolutely love that promo.
The promo, I agree with you. The promo was great, and it explained about his name, but it was in response to Rollins basically ripping the name and saying, it means something stupid, and why do you care about this? And this is an example of what WWE does all the time, where they dip their toe in the water, but they don't want to take a swim. You need to build Balor up to look really cool. And you don't do that by getting Rollins, who a lot of fans like anyway, even though you want to portray him as a heel, and having him come out and basically crap all over, this character. And then Balor comes out, you're like, well, I don't know why he's a demon. I don't quite understand the face paint. If you didn't watch NXT, if you don't know who this guy is, then you don't have that frame of reference. So I think, John, to your point, back in the last time when they did the brand split, even the B guys you knew. So the roster may actually not have been as deep, amazingly enough, if you take purely on paper talent. But they've put themselves in a really tough spot where a lot of these guys, your average quote-unquote wrestling fan, doesn't know a lot about them. So just putting them on the roster doesn't do it. You have to give us a reason to care and tap into that emotion from NXT. And in my opinion, the best way to do it would be to focus one show around that and have the other show be kind of the traditional, hey, here's the guys you knew before. And that would set up a really cool angle like they've always tried to do with Invasions, where you've got the new guys taking on the old guys. And instead, what we have now is, like you said, a mix of both, which we already had and failed.
Yeah, well, see, that's what a lot of people were speculating leading up to the draft, that SmackDown was going to be that NXT-based show. And it completely, I just expected pretty much how the draft ended up being. It was pretty much what I expected, and I was disappointed about it because with the Daniel Bryan as the general manager and everything, I thought that was the perfect prime opportunity to really differentiate the two shows and make it more like NXT on SmackDown. granted, I do like some little touches that they've changed between Raw and SmackDown, as far as even when they enter the ring, as far as, you know, how the graphic will come up with their name, how it's different from Raw, you know, compared to SmackDown. It'll be on the far right and list their height, weight, and all that stuff, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Like little touches like that I've liked, but I expected a lot more differential between the two brands than what it has been thus far to this point anyway.
By the way, to correct myself, and you guys are making great points with this, and it's just WWE, I think they had an idea and they went with it. That Stephanie tried to say that, oh, this has been a plan in the works. No, it hasn't. And if it has, whoever decided to go through with this should be fired because it was executed horribly.
They've just been winging it. They have been winging this since the minute it was announced.
Yep. Yeah.
By the way,
I agree with
forgot.
that. And
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that stands to my point, which is I feel like this is kind of what they do with everything now, where they want to play off the reaction, but they don't want to fully commit to a side. Like, you know, listen, I agree with Chris or your point, John, from the beginning. When you went into week one after the brand split, I thought the brand split was pretty lame in terms of how it ended up. And maybe to Chris' point, like that might have just been my expectation. And that's not WWE's fault. I mean, they don't have to do what I want. I'm going to watch, you know, either way and likely complain about it if I don't like it. So I'm a known quantity. But if their effort is to appeal to the casual wrestling fan, they have to tap into some of the people that follow other promotions that don't think WWE is all that and that want to believe that some of these indie guys can really make an impact in the WWE. And the funny part is the timing is perfect for this, right? I mean, you have two guys battling it out on Raw who are indie darlings, and you have on SmackDown a guy who is also an indie darling who's your champion, and a guy wrestling him who, 70-80% of wrestling fans feel like has been completely screwed over so many times with the talent level and his ability to deliver in matches. This is the era of the indie wrestler, and WWE so badly wants to say, look what we did. But they also still have that same thing in the back of their mind where they're like, can we really trust these guys to carry a show? And you've seen that from the comments of the legends and the guys that, you know, have pull with the WWE. So it's tough. I just think they don't want to commit either way. And so you give them credit when they do something like bring Baylor up in an awesome way. And total kudos for that because the show was unbelievable and people loved it. And now 2 weeks later, we're like, oh, yeah, did that happen? You know, it's disappointing.
You know what they're going to do,
I have a question.
What's up?
Oh, no, you go ahead, and then I'll ask the question for you guys. Go for it.
Okay.
Continue, man.
Okay. You know what they're going to do? Seth Rollins is going to be the Universal Champion. And it's going to be, I'm going to say, the Monday after Backlash, 2 weeks before Clash of Champions, the Raw pay-per-view. And Finn Balor's either going to be beaten up the week before and he's not going to be on the Raw that week. And they're going to have a random main event that's going to tank in the ratings because it's going to be Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins. And it's going to tank, and that's not slighting Sami Zayn. It's going to tank because Sami Zayn won't have been on Raw since the brand split. But they're going to think, and exactly what they did with Wade Barrett, Damian Sandow, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler. They think because they know who Sami Zayn is. We can throw him out there. They know who R-Truth is. We can throw him out there. They know who Kofi Kingston is. They'll believe if he's going into the main event.
Well, that even goes years before that. I mean, look at guys like Ted DiBiase Jr., who was red hot during the Legacy split. A guy like MVP when he got drafted to Raw with all that momentum and got buried by Randy Orton that night. So, I mean, this isn't anything new.
No.
What about Cody?
Yeah, I was just going to say Cody Rhodes. You know, it's been a problem that has
been
hindering WWE I mean, really, you can even go back to like Shelton Benjamin and
Mr. Kennedy.
I'm trying to think, Mr. Kennedy. Yeah, I was trying to think of SmackDown side. Bobby Lashley a little bit before he got the rocket shoved up his ass.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, how about Daniel Bryan? They don't even get credit for that because they screwed it up 15 times before they finally said, "Oh, people are chanting yes, we should do this." Right? Daniel Bryan is still one of the most popular people as far as reaction, and he's not even wrestling. And it took them this long to put him in a suit and put him back on the show. Like, this is my point. These guys feel like if they didn't make you, they're not fully committed. And that's the part that they have to get over. And you don't know who that is. It seems like with Triple H, to give him credit, it seems like a lot of these ideas that are coming forward are things that he's really pushing hard for. And kudos to him. I'm not trying to blame Vince. He's done a lot of great things. But to your point, your central point, if the goal of this brand split is to make both brands viable and make a competition between the two, all you have to do is look at what you said, and it's not there. You don't have the horses to have that match in the first place, and you basically made SmackDown look stupid from the very beginning. In the way the draft was even set up, you made it look dumb, and you took the two hottest guys, Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan. Crowd loves them. Let's dump them on SmackDown and give them, we'll give them a couple people that the fans know, but then we're just going to throw a bunch of, other people on there because it's only 2 hours and we need more wrestlers on Raw. It
Baron Corbin.
Say it out loud.
That Baron Corbin pick, my God. Is that a Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan pick? Like, let's be honest right now.
You're so
Corbin.
right. You're so right. And it's sad to hear them try to explain it with, whatever logic. Like, because again, I agree with you, Chris. Totally. Like, they are now, WWE has tried to get smarter in that they do look at social media and they do see what the fans are saying. And now they do this wink, wink thing where they acknowledge that the fans are unhappy. It's exactly what they did with Cesaro. There's no way, I promise both of you guys, when they drafted Cesaro where they did, it had nothing to do with the storyline. I 1,000% promise you that. Nothing to do with it. And then they went.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, they were shocked. They were like, "Oh my God, people care that Cesaro, got drafted below all these other people." And then all of a sudden, it was like their idea to the point where they made it the focal point of this week's Raw. So, like, I'm not trying to take credit away from them. I just think in some of these cases, they're very reactionary. And that's okay if you want to play off what the fans are saying, but hold on to it and do it for a while. Don't abandon it at the first opportunity and then just go right back like it never happened. That's where they just think we're stupid as fans, and that's the kind of stuff that drives you nuts.
All right, man. There was a.
No, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no, the points I was wanting to make, the rewind, how you were talking about the indie guys and NXT guys that, weren't the homegrown talent that haven't gotten opportunity and all that stuff. I mean, honestly, some of the homegrown guys have actually gotten buried, too, over the years. Look at Bray Wyatt. Just think if Bray Wyatt would have got that victory over Cena and then The Undertaker the following year. Where would he be right now? Look at a guy like Rusev, who was U.S. champion, another homegrown talent, was on absolute fire. Had he beat John Cena at WrestleMania that year, you had absolute money in a Rusev versus Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? Match at SummerSlam that year. And, I mean, Ryback's yet another case of a homegrown talent that Vince really liked, and he was up there with John Cena as one of the top baby faces in the company, and for whatever reason, they just couldn't do a babyface Cena versus a babyface Ryback. They had to make Ryback heel, and from there on in, that was the end of Ryback. And, I mean, two other things I wanted to ask you guys about before. This is one thing I really wanted to talk to you guys about on the show today that I've been thinking about all day, topics and stuff. There was two things. Number one, I'll shoot this at both of you guys. As far as Finn Balor, there's been a lot of people complaining about maybe they're unleashing the Demon King too soon. In my opinion, I think it's fine for SummerSlam. Now, if this was for Backlash or something, no, I don't want to see the Demon just yet. But since it is SummerSlam, pretty much the second biggest show of the year, I'm perfectly fine with him unleashing the Demon for the first time there. But if I'm not mistaken, I seen an advertisement for Raw next week where Seth Rollins wants to meet the Demon King. And if they give away Finn Balor's Demon entrance on Monday Night Raw for free TV, on free TV before SummerSlam, I am going to be highly, highly disappointed. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised.
What if he shows up on Raw?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they don't do it. And their logic is going to be, well, they know the drama that comes with the Demon. They'll tune in on SummerSlam anyway. They're going to want to see the Demon actually face Seth Rollins in a match, not just see him. Seeing him,
but I think
matter.
We got enough.
Seeing him in the
I just think that promo was enough to show. I mean, let's say you're a casual fan who's never seen Finn Balor as the Demon before. And after watching that amazing backstage promo, and you got that little taste of what to expect, it would be amazing for him to come out at SummerSlam for the first time as the Demon, just from off that one promo and the small little taste that they gave the casual audience. I just don't see why they're going to give this away on Monday Night Raw. I mean, it cracks me up. It reminds me of, like, there will be an Intercontinental title match at a pay-per-view, and they'll have that same match, the Raw before the pay-per-view for the title.
That's the worst.
And
you remember,
shit like that
you remember
just drives me
WrestleMania
insane.
25? You remember
with Rey Mysterio?
Chris?
Was that the
And Yo, they did the same fucking match the week before, the week of WrestleMania, and the week after. Like,
yeah.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And they do that. They do that quite a bit. Like they have, and they, like I said, they kind of did it this week. They'll throw another guy in. They'll make it a tag match, and like you have to keep the build for the match. But you said it, and I agree. If you do an effective promo, there's a lot of ways to do it without having to show the same match. The thing for the WWE is now they don't care as much about the pay-per-views because it's all about the network. So where they used to have to worry about those pay-per-view buys, now it's like, hey, if you have the network, you're going to watch it, and that's what we care about is more people watching it. So I will tell you this, because I think it's an interesting question. I do agree with John that it wouldn't surprise me because nothing that they do surprises me. But the 2 points that you guys are making are kind of related because I would say this. If Balor, which it seems like by all accounts, is going to show up as the Demon at SummerSlam, if they have Rollins pin him clean, okay, that is a disaster. You have created a situation, and they would have to kick off a program at that point because just like AJ and John Cena, they still have not figured out how to book somebody that they did not create. The difference between, Chris, what you were talking about with some of those guys is, and you're totally right, whether they think Bray Wyatt is fat or injury prone or whatever their issues are, and there clearly are some, they made the decision to change the guy or not turn him or whatever, and that caused the reaction. In the case of Finn, this whole angle that he's not believable as a credible opposition to Rollins, which Rollins himself talked about in his promo, is the feeling of the WWE. It's not the feeling of anybody that's watching the show. Nobody was watching the ring presence of Finn and going, oh, this guy, he can't handle being in the limelight. So it's almost like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I like that they're bringing the Demon angle into it because I think that, like you said, it makes the casual fan go, okay, there's something with this guy, and he might, be able to hang with Rollins. But I'm telling you guys right now, if they have that happen and Rollins beats him clean, that is a disaster. I mean, that is just another example of not capitalizing on the momentum and stomping on a guy after you had a chance to make him, even bigger than he already is.
Yeah, well, see, like I said, my big thing is I just know a lot of people have been concerned backstage outside of Vince about bringing the Demon character out too early. See, I agree to it to an extent just for the fact that it's SummerSlam, like I said, probably the second biggest show of the year, up there with the Royal Rumble. Sure. So, if it was just a Backlash or, a pay-per-view like that, I'd say, hold off and wait. But since it is SummerSlam, I have no problem with it. I just don't want to see it on Raw before SummerSlam. The first time he comes out as the Demon, it better be at SummerSlam, not on Raw next week.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fair. But I would only say to you, my only other point is on paper. In other words, the SummerSlam matches, the big matches, are pretty good. I mean, whether you like the individuals involved, So, they almost don't need it. To me, Baylor and Rollins as a story, this guy who was, he's got the accolades from NXT. He's got the accolades from international, wrestling all over the world. This is a great story the way it is. I'm not objecting. Like you said, I agree. If they want to do the Demon, hey, do it up. Make it look awesome, and that's great. But I think you're right. Less is more sometimes, and you don't need it for this. Lesnar-Orton is a big deal. Rusev Reigns even is a decent deal. AJ Cena and all of these matches will at least be pretty good, if not very good. So these two guys are going to wrestle the house down, whether he's in Demon gear or not.
Well, let me ask you guys this, going back to the brand split. Talking about Vince and Triple H, I want to get you guys' opinions on this. My thoughts on the whole thing so far is that the brand split was Triple H's idea. Because if you look at Triple H's biggest period of dominance, you can say, even counting his run with DX, you could say 2001 to 2008. And
sounds right.
Most of that time was, if not all of it, was the brand split. So I think to that, Triple H, having been there, was probably this is the way to go. And Vince probably, all right, yep, that's a good idea. We'll do that. But I'm going to do it my way. And we need to get eyes on SmackDown. What are we going to do? Well, we've got these two guys that are white hot. Let's put them on the same show. Great. You want to put them on Raw, Vince? Hell no. We're going to put them on SmackDown. Well, then, what about this guy, that guy? Nah. We're going to put out Braun Strowman. That's the match that people want to see. And you just look at these things.
And the push with Braun Strowman is so reminiscent of Ryback's debut.
Yep.
Where they would have all these, it's just fucking page by page, line by, just fucking absolutely identical to Ryback's initial debut when they repackaged him from Skip Sheffield to Ryback.
But Ryback could at least talk.
Yeah.
Ryback could at least talk. Braun Strowman couldn't talk his way out of the bag if a bag was opening right in front of his face.
I think this would be a golden opportunity for a guy like Bo Dallas to step in as his mouthpiece and have Strowman be his bodyguard.
Oh, God.
I would say this too. I think there's been a lot of comments about the squash matches and should they come back and everything. And again, some of these things, I just ask the question, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one asking it. But if again the goal of the brand split is to show us that the talent's never been deeper, why are we having squash matches? In other words, there should be no squash matches ever because your competitiveness is so high that you always have this plethora of talent, and you can find a way to book it. Braun Strowman.
You know why? You know why there's squash matches. I don't think it has anything. Well, obviously, you brought up that it may have to do with the roster depth and everything, which that does play a part in it. But I think a lot of it has to do with trying to fill 3 hours Like, put it this way, in my opinion, guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. You guys might think I'm absolutely nuts. I think this might be the most I think this might be one of the most talented roster bases they have had in years. They're just not utilizing them, and it's just, you know, like, wins and losses haven't mattered for how long. It's like, oh, dude, it's cool. You can win on Raw. I'll just win on SmackDown. And then, you know, it's just like, but I think it just has to the squash matches have more to do with how the hell are we going to fill 3 hours with half a roster.
Well, and that could be true. And I don't have, like, again, I think if you want to book Strowman as, you know, this guy and whatever you want to do, like, more power to you. But the problem is that if he's not beating anybody of consequence, you can book a guy strong without having to put him in against jobbers that everybody knows are going to lose. So I agree with you. Yeah. I don't think you're crazy at all. I think the talent base is as high as it's ever been. The problem is watching these weekly episodes, you would never know that. Because between all the filler and all the segments and everything else, you're not seeing what supposedly the people are paying for, which is these guys that you're talking about coming into their own. Look at American Alpha if you really want to get, you know, like, frustrated. American Alpha, again, has this great buzz coming from NXT. WWE actually capitalized on it by drafting them, which was smart, to bring them to the main roster. They did it smart. And they don't even use them in the first week of SmackDown. They say, oh, they're coming next week. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? You couldn't find anything. They could have shown up and sat in the seats and, you know, bought tickets and done that angle. Like, how do you not use them in week one? Now we watch them wrestle this week. This is the big heralded debut. Did they wrestle, did they wrestle anybody that we care about? No. They wrestled guys, who cares? And then everybody, all the B teams on the roster, like the Ascension, came out and said, oh, they look really tough, I'm scared. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, my thing is, the thing that was most evident about the SmackDown, the thing that was most evident to me about the SmackDown roster was the very first night of SmackDown Live following that amazing first Raw. Was at the beginning of the show when everybody was up on the apron, and they announced the six-pack challenge or whatever the hell it was. And it was, what was it, Bray Wyatt, Dolph Ziggler, Del Rio, who else am I thinking of? Help me out, guys. Who was in that six-pack challenge that Ziggler won?
It was Cena, AJ, Del Rio, Ziggler, Cruz, and Wyatt.
Okay. Right. Well, just put it this way. After they announced that these guys were in the six-pack challenge for the main event, and the rest of the guys were in the Battle Royal, which Apollo Crews ultimately won, after they brought those five guys into the ring for the six-pack challenge for the main event, I'm like, how in the hell are they going to have a 2-hour show when, you know what I mean? That right there showed you the roster depth on SmackDown, and it's not like, you know, these guys aren't talented. It's they haven't given us a reason to care about any of these other guys.
Right.
The worst
exactly.
thing...
And you're... Go ahead, John.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was just going to say, I agree with that. And I don't understand, like we're talking about, you know, how you make the decision on who's going to go on what roster. Again, part of the reason that the Strowman thing is even occurring is they made the head-scratching decision to break up the Wyatts in the middle of a feud that was actually semi-interesting with the New Day, and they put two guys on one show, one guy on the other show, and keep all of the New Day together on the... Like, it just, again, I'm not saying that Strowman as a singles competitor can't work. Not my cup of tea, but that's okay. But to move him in that moment does not make any logical sense.
Well, can I interrupt you for 1 second just to say this? I don't know if you caught this or not, but on Monday Night Raw, when Shane and Daniel Bryan drafted Bray Wyatt with one of their picks. Do you not remember Stephanie McMahon saying, "Thank God you took the Wyatts because we don't want no part of them on our show"? Do you guys remember that? John, do you remember that?
I hadn't, but
Yes,
I do
sir.
now that you say it.
And then I'll be damned if not during that Draft Central special afterwards, Braun Strowman pops up on Raw. And I'm like, Stephanie literally just threw them under the bus and said, "Thank God I don't want any of the Wyatt family on Raw."
Right.
And then here you go, Braun Strowman's on Raw. And a pretty predominant role so far over the last 3 weeks. Granted, they're squash matches, but they've been highlighting him for somebody they didn't want, to touch with a 10-foot pole, supposedly, during the actual draft. But, I mean, it's just humorous.
On that note, guys, we are going to finish this conversation, but we do need to take a timeout.
Okay.
It's been a very, very good back and forth conversation, and I love it.
Well, actually, do we have a couple minutes to talk about something else real fast?
Before the commercial break or after?
Before, or either way, I just want to throw something in there real quick for us to talk about, as I wanted your guys' opinion on something else also.
It's a tease. Go ahead. What did you want to bring up, and we'll talk about it after the break. Tease.
We'll talk about Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson after the break.
Doctor. Yeah, there you go, Dunfee. Dunfee just got to shake the rust off a little bit. It's been a couple years. But we are going to take a timeout, guys. When we get back, we are going to finish this conversation on the state of the brand split, Raw and SmackDown. We're going to talk about Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and I can only assume they're the speediest PhDs in the history of the world. That was a horrible joke, but it's okay. But if you guys could be so kind, can you guys give us a like on Facebook, our official Facebook page, facebook.com/maineventmadness. And, of course, I'm on Twitter at JohnMM Radio. Mark is at @MarkMadison, and Mike is at Darman Rockwell. A very highly contested Twitter handle, evidently. And Chris is
just
MIA,
on
I think.
Facebook.
Yes. He's like the guy that was on MySpace when Facebook first launched. He's just hanging out there. Hey, everybody. I was joking.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, guys, like I said, we're going to keep talking the state of the brand split. We got some Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. We're going to talk. We got some NXT we're going to talk. We got a lot to get to in the next 45 minutes. This is Main Event Madness, where the madness is unleashed, and we'll be back just after these words.
Alright, so you want to know what's going on with the show, and you want to know who our next guest is going to be. Well, the easiest place to do that is Facebook. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness is the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Come check us out and give us a like and help spread the word and make this a movement. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. Looking for wrestling news, missed a live event, and want the best results? Well, look no further. Wrestling-news.net is the place to go for all of the pro wrestling news and results your heart desires, with coverage of the WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, Ring of Honor, Global Force Wrestling, Independence, and more. Also, is your favorite promotion overseas? No problem either. Wayne Daly has results and news for promotions all over the world. Check them out today, wrestling-news.net. Visit pwpnation.com for exclusive wrestling articles you won't find anywhere else. Since 2012, Pro Wrestling Powerhouse has produced original content from a dedicated team of wrestling analysts and fans from across the globe. pwpnation.com has now expanded into the world of wrestling news, podcasts, videos, and so much more. Make sure to visit pwpnation.com today. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. Coming soon, a website with news, a website with columns, a website with madness. MainEventMadness.com is returning soon with a new look, a new attitude, and we're raising the game to a whole new level. Don't miss new columns, our entire Main Event Madness archive featuring legendary guests, wrestling news, a chat you can use with us during the show, a store, and more. Don't miss the new MainEventMadness.com, coming soon. From the ashes of our old website comes a fresh new face from Main Event Madness. MEM Network is here. Check out all of your favorite episodes of Main Event Madness, Work in Progress, Wrestling's Rope Break, and Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. More shows to be announced in the future, but check out MEMnetwork.wix.com/home, where the madness runs wild.
Greg DeMarco presents Pro Wrestling Biz, the internet's premier host of analysis, opinion, and wrestling columns. Whether it's covering World Wrestling Entertainment, Lucha Underground, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, or any other independent wrestling promotion, Pro Wrestling Biz has you covered. With daily news, show reviews, covering pay-per-views or iPay-per-views, Pro Wrestling Biz will offer viewers an array of opinions from some of the most knowledgeable wrestling writers on the internet.
Mama tell it I've been gone too long. To hear them talk about me, say I'm doing wrong. But I've been on my own since 15. When the death in jail before me, drag my name through mud and I still come out clean. I get faded, I get let loose sometimes. I get wasted. They say I'm gonna lose my mind. Spend all day long the same old song. Beat my demons down by the crossroads. I get faded, and I don't give a fuck if you call me a rebel.
Alright guys, we are back. This is Main Event Madness Radio, August 11th edition of the broadcast, an abbreviated edition of the broadcast, and I do apologize once again about that, but nonetheless, guys, we've had a great conversation about the state of the brand split so far, and about who's won the week so far for Raw and SmackDown. We're going to go to the decisions here momentarily, but right now, guys, you are listening to the song called Rebel. It is the new single off of from the band Shallow Side, which you guys can check the music out on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and of course at their website too. You can find all their information on at their Facebook page, guys. But that is their new song, Rebel. Request it on your favorite rock radio stations. Get the song out there. They're a great band, doing a great job. Thank you once again to that band for allowing us to use that as our new theme song going forward here on Main Event Madness Radio. So, guys, and I know Chris wants to talk about the doctors of WWE. I was going to ask you guys point blank. I think we already touched on it, but for documentation purposes and what we're going to be doing going forward here is we're going to be doing this every week. Who won the week between Raw and SmackDown? Rather than having the whole show, you know, granted this week is a little bit different, but not making the whole show recap. So what we're going to do is we're going to take points, and then at the end of the year, we're going to reveal who in our opinion won the year in terms of the better show. Just a little way to have a little fun with WWE, because Lord knows they're not making it easy. So, Chris, Raw or SmackDown? Who won the week?
Raw.
Mike.
I'm going SmackDown this week. So you're the tiebreaker.
It was a tough one. It was a tough one for me. It both had a lot of negatives, and we touched on a lot of them. Just edging out is that this is a tough choice. I'm going to say SmackDown. And I'm only saying SmackDown because it's 2 hours. And God, how much have I missed a 2-hour wrestling show? Because I'm sitting there, it's the bottom of the second hour, and I'm like, oh shit, we still got an hour and a half to go. Dean Ambrose coming out. I'm like, oh wait, fuck. Hey, event time. That's right. This is already almost over with. So, I will give the edge to SmackDown. So, on that note, a point does go to SmackDown for being the show that won the week. So, I forgot what we were talking about the most recent thing before the break. So while I try to jog my memory, I'm going to let Chris talk about the fastest doctors in the history of professional wrestling on Monday Night Raw. Doctor?
So, what the hell are they doing with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson? That skit looked fresh from 1999 Vince Russo Attitude Era type nonsense.
It was fantastic.
And
what are you talking about? That was great.
It was great. Well, put it this way. I was fine with it until they came to the ring wearing the damn doctor coats or whatever the hell it is they wear. If that is their new gimmick, I'm going to throw up in my mouth a little bit. Because
I think
that was a little fun.
Beating up Big E.
It was what?
I think it was just them playing off beating up Big E.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying I do not want to see this continue with them coming to the ring wearing their doctor, jackets and all that. I want to go back to the cool shit they were wearing upon their debut, or even as recently as when they were in the club with AJ Styles with their Japanese letters on their jackets and stuff. I just don't want to see the, whatever the hell they were trying to do on Monday Night Raw and turn this into a full-time gimmick. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
We did some surgery, emergency surgery, and the results were nuts.
Did you guys believe that on a PG show, though? Tell me that Vince Russo did not fucking go to Vince McMahon and pitch that.
I'm gonna say this, okay? If this following sentence, if you find yourself laughing hysterically, then you would enjoy that SmackDown segment. It takes balls to show up in a doctor's outfit, okay? Because that's and by the way, I would say they get points for unintentional humor because I never knew. I knew that Gallows could be really funny unintentionally in the Straight Edge Society, but I had no idea.
Even going back as fast as
he could go so deadpan funny. In the way he was delivering it, it looked like he wanted to beat the crap out of whoever had written that for him. And in that, I think we can all appreciate his level of disdain. And I would also say, I did mention this in my article, so cheap plug, but which one of those guys was Isaac Yankem DDS? Because I lost track. It was one of them, I know, but I couldn't.
Which one of those two Kane was?
I know. I'm kidding. I'm saying which of those guys was Isaac Yankem, because it was reminding me of that
Gallows.
Yes, with Jerry Lawler, doing the dental puns. I mean, that's basically where we're at right now. And, I'm glad that Chris brought it up because this is a tragedy, right? I mean, these guys are like badasses. I mean, they're legitimate badasses with a great gimmick coming over, and what are they doing now? I mean, it's kind of sad. It does make me a little sad.
Well, like I said, as a 1 week thing, just for fun, cool, I'm fine with it, but they better not come out at SummerSlam wearing fucking doctor outfits for a tag team championship title match.
The only way that that's okay is if they beat up Xavier Woods, Kofi, or if they beat up Big E's nuts again. That is the only way that that's okay, if they do the ring post-nitis thing. Again.
Oh,
which, by the way,
another one more random thought I want to throw out. One more random thought before I forget. Have you guys noticed, alright, who defends the titles out of the New Day more than anybody, out of the three? Who are the two that... And who wears the title more than any of them?
Xavier.
Exactly. That's always been mind-boggling to me.
You know what, though? It worked more when they were healed.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think from a roster depth point of view, as much as I thoroughly enjoy the New Day, I would love to see them split the three up. If Kofi's the one to turn on the New Day, circa Seth Rollins, Kofi's going to be fucking white hot at the heel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, my thing is, though, John, is just, I don't think they've ran their course just yet because they still haven't showed that other side to them with the edge. You know what I mean? They still haven't given them that edge where, you know, after they lose a match or something, they come out legitimately pissed off. Yeah, like, I would love to see them lose to the club. But I would just love to see them, like, lose to the club and come out and for one night be seriously pissed off that they lost that match and show another side to that gimmick because I think there's just so much. As long as they've been together and, you know, they kind of have ran their course to an extent, but I still think there is more that they can do as far as character development with them before they eventually split them up.
I say, you know what you really could do is the night after WrestleMania. I think there's enough gas left in the tank that the New Day can last until the night after WrestleMania.
I agree. That sounds like a, yeah. I agree with you. Yeah.
They're gonna last until they stop selling breakfast cereal. You find another.
I'm buying it the moment I see it. I am buying it. I don't even care.
Have any of you guys bought? Have you guys bought it yet? Because I'm about to go up to FYE this weekend.
It is not available yet. It's pre-order only.
Oh, I thought it was available August 5th.
Yeah,
well,
I believe
I was
pre-order.
Well, see, when I took my trip up to Cleveland a couple weeks ago, it said pre-order will be available August 5th.
Oh,
well, the pre-order might have been
so.
Is that like the actual ability to pre-order, or is it the stock is available?
I'm not sure. All I know is that they said pre-order that the product would be available August 5th. So I was gonna pick up I was gonna buy 2 boxes, one to put up just for shits and gigs to see if it's worth something 50 years down the road, and 1 box to at least try, just to see what it's all about.
I can't believe that FYE of all places is the only place to buy it.
Oh, well,
you what?
I agree. I agree with that. I was kind of like, are they still in business? I'm not really sure, but. I would say, listen, that's the truth. I mean, WWE, they love marketing above anything else. And that is what is going to keep New Day together for the foreseeable future. I mean, everything you guys are saying makes sense. An angle would be great. A breakup would be great. We know that Xavier could be an effective heel. I would love to see Kofi, doing the heel thing. We know Big E was a good heel during his heel run. So These guys all have charisma, and it would be great to
Well-
have them wrestle each other and have the whole thing implode. But the reality is, if they can sell cereal and unicorn horns, they are not breaking up anytime in the near future.
Well, Mike, you brought up a great point about Kofi Kingston being the one to turn heel. For number one, we've never seen him be a heel, and you made the comparison to Seth Rollins, that if you look at that time, who was the least likely person you would have expected to break up the Shield? It would have been it was Seth Rollins. So if you look at it, Kofi Kingston would be the perfect one because he would be the, he's been a baby face for 10 years now, if not longer. He hasn't really had that heel run besides that, when the New Day was together. But yeah. I just think, he would. I think that would pack the biggest punch to finally see him go heel, and it would be the most surprising, much like Rollins was the most surprising with the Shield.
Well, let me run a story idea by you guys.
Go for it.
So, say the night after, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Say the night after WrestleMania, Kofi splits from the Shield. Either that or, it would be awesome if Kofi turns on him at WrestleMania. They lose, and Kofi turns on him at WrestleMania. So then the night after, they come out there, they try to get Kofi's reasoning. And you know who comes through the crowd, and you get a tag team match out of this at the next pay-per-view? Big E and Xavier Woods against the team of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods' former tag team partner, Jay Lethal. Or,
it'd be fine with me.
If you want to go the fun route, you turn Xavier Woods on them, and then you bring Consequences Creed into WWE. Or not Consequences Creed, Lethal Consequences.
Yeah.
Which I will say to this day, is still one of my favorite tag team names ever.
But do you know Jay Lethal's contract status currently with Ring of Honor?
I do not. Do you?
I have no idea off the top of my head.
John, there's a very good reason why that would not happen, because then WWE would have to acknowledge that some other wrestling company did something that was actually good for a minute. And there's nothing that we hate worse than that. I mean, it took them how long to even say that AJ Styles was in TNA? And it wasn't even on the...
It took
right,
Stone Cold.
it was on the
Stone Cold's podcast.
Yeah, it was on the podcast. And the thing is, and I know we spoke about this before, so I don't mean to go back to this, but I think we brought up at the time, you almost give them more power by not doing it. It's just silly. People like wrestling. They like to watch all different kinds. So acknowledge, not saying that AJ Styles did a lot of things in TNA. I'm trying to think of a comparison. It would basically be like saying that Bob Denver, and I know Evan's, not on, but I'll go with the old references. It'd be like saying that Bob Denver wasn't on Gilligan's Island. There's nothing else that the guy ever did. That I'm not saying that AJ didn't do anything, but you get my point. It's so obviously the first thing that you think of that it just
it would also help out AJ's credibility to the casual fans. Not just to bring up TNA just for the sake of bringing up he was in TNA, but for the fact that, hey, this guy, AJ Styles, has, defeated guys like Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle and, you know what I mean, big name guys that the casual audience knows. They're wow, this AJ Styles guy beat all these, well-known, big-time superstars at one point in his career, and I just think that would have instantly boosted his credibility upon his arrival. It wouldn't even be about mentioning TNA, but it just cracks me up how WWE always says, "Oh, we're not worried about TNA," and just act like they're so irrelevant, but at the same time, they're scared to death to acknowledge them. And it's just mind-boggling to me. It's like you guys are, put them down so much that they're not competition. They're never going to be competition. They're a joke, yet you're scared to death to acknowledge them, when if you acknowledged them, it would have really gave Styles a ton of credibility to let the WWE Universe know that, hey, he went toe-to-toe with guys like Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, some of the best talent in the world, and, you know, defeated these guys.
Thank
even.
God. Thank God AJ Styles went to New Japan. Could you imagine them trying to push AJ as a former WCW guy when he was only in the power plant and trying to get him over to being legit?
Exactly. And you know, to back up Chris's point, I would say also it's funny because WWE does that themselves with everything else. Whenever they show a video package, they just did it in that very good, I would say, Lesnar Orton build package that they did this past week, which I thought was very good, as it usually is. But they always love to show, hey, this guy beat Kurt Angle, you know, when he was here, this guy beat you. So it's their same playbook. They just don't want to give another promotion, you know, some kind of shine by saying, but it's exactly what he said. Like, that's how you relate to AJ. Yeah. They just expect AJ Styles to show up and people to be like, oh, that's AJ Styles. I've been waiting for him to come to the WWE for 15 years. That's not every fan, you know.
It's not the same situation as Sting, for instance. You didn't have to mention Sting's past in TNA.
Exactly
Sting was, but with a guy like AJ Styles, they could have gave him instant credibility with the casual WWE Universe fan that, hey, this guy beat a Kurt Angle, a Samoa Joe, a Jeff Hardy, you know, Sting, and all these guys. And, you know, if I was a casual fan and I never heard of AJ Styles and heard that he took on all these top superstars and defeated them, I'd be like, wow, I'm interested to see what he can do against a John Cena. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. I just think it would have added, you know, boosted instant credibility to him, even going back to his debut at the Royal Rumble.
Now, speaking about TNA, I want to get your guys' thoughts about this. And I'm going to make a very bold prediction.
John, I don't watch that shit. I'm just
No.
I'm just going to throw that out there.
Let me just get your thoughts on this. If TNA can get out of their own way, get Dixie, you know, it's not going to happen, but keep Dixie Carter as far the fuck away from TV as possible. If you can focus TNA, get Matt Hardy the fuck off the show, because that shit is horrible. I'm sorry, but that whole deletion thing is fucking horrible. Or at least put him in the mid-card. But if you want, but the main event picture of Impact Wrestling, you want to put it around three guys and try to put yourself to somebody different, despite the fact that one of them is a WWE, really only one of them is a WWE guy, one of them was NXT. EC3, Damian Sandow, Mike Bennett. You can even throw Moose in there if you want to. Keep the title picture around those guys. I would almost go as far as to say, put Sandow immediately into a title feud. Because what's one thing we never got to see Sandow in was a main event title picture. See what he's got. What literally do they have to lose?
John, I'm almost at the point to where TNA would be better off just completely changing their fucking name of the company and just act like there's something new. Like, hey, we're starting over, we're starting fresh. I'd give them a whole new name and everything.
I don't know if this is true. It was one of those Reddit users, and I don't know if this one was the legit one or not. TNA had a deadline that they didn't meet, that they had to with the State Department or whatever of Tennessee, that they had to file some paperwork or pay something or whatever the case was by a certain deadline. It was like a week ago, in order to stay as a functioning business in the state of Tennessee, and they didn't do it.
Wow.
I saw that. I'm like, I don't know if that's legit or not, but given all the payment issues, the TV issues, and everything else they've done, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if that was true.
My
No,
God,
I
did AJ Styles dodge a bullet, not re-signing with those assholes and going to WWE? Oh my God, did he dodge a fucking bullet?
Absolutely, and I would say this, John. I think your setup is good, but it's all hinged on the principle that Dixie is not going to be involved, so you can forget it from the beginning because that's a fantasy in itself. And secondarily, the opposite of the problem that Chris and I were talking about with AJ's presentation, it's the opposite problem in TNA because you're going to bring in Sandow, and the only thing that you're going to do with him is remind everybody that he was the same person in the WWE, and, this was his gimmick. They don't have any original thought. They just hitch their, train to whatever worked before. And Sandow has such versatility.
Oh, Sandow's one of the most versatile superstars they've had over the last decade in World Wrestling Entertainment. I mean, I just can't believe
I will give them props. He did not come out looking anything like the intellectual savior of the masses gimmick. He came out as
which is good.
Aaron Stevens. And
by the way, John,
he made a shoot promo on WWE, and I'm willing to give him a try. If they weren't on as the same
absolutely, it had, but here's what I'm saying to you. You and I both know the reason he didn't come out like that is because they didn't want to get sued because they have no money. So they didn't want to have him come out in a robe and have him say, the robe is intellectual property of Titan Tower.
Give him
a
purple robe.
Have him come out as Abraham Lincoln. I mean, it doesn't matter. But all I'm going to say to you is, you just made my point for me, which is the very first thing that he talks about is where he used to work. And that's the problem. Don't give me the past. Give me the now. Have him come out and not talk about WWE at all. We know that he was there. We don't need all that. He's going to show up. He's going to be a completely different guy. We know he has the versatility to do it. And they're afraid to ever have an original thought in their head, in their pea brain. And that's why they're going to fail.
Well, Mike, did you just say he came out as his real name, Aaron Stevens?
Yes, he did. That was
John
came out.
John said that he did it.
Yeah, he came out as Aaron Stevens.
No, I'm not going to hate on Aaron Stevens. I mean, it's an all right name, but could the dude not come up with something more creative? I mean, Damian Sandow I thought was a cool name, and it's like, yeah, granted, I know you can't use a Damian Sandow name, but does Aaron Stevens sound like a wrestler to you? Well, like, I don't know. If I was him, I would have just rebranded himself, with a different name altogether.
It's what you said. I mean, listen, I'm not a fan of the Matt Hardy thing either, but I'll give him credit that it's nothing like what he did in WWE. And that's part of what makes it newsworthy. So I agree. Like, to your point, John, what does it matter? He might as well come out and do some crazy-ass gimmick because that would at least make me feel like it's different, and different is good. And that's the problem in wrestling right now. TNA does not understand that being WWE's younger brother or sister does not make you popular. Like, it's the wrong move because you will never be them, and you will always be compared to them, and you're doing it to yourself. So it's the same problem in reverse. You have this guy who's disgruntled, who did a great job, who the majority of the fans would love to see getting a run. You would get total credit if you gave that guy a run, to your point. But you bring him in, and the very first thing you do is you start talking about where he used to work. I don't get it. I can remember, when I went to many a show in ECW, one of the genius things that Paul Heyman did is he would have guys who worked for WCW come in and get massive heat just by saying, I worked in WCW, and that place was better than here. Or he would get massive cheers if people would come in and say, I worked in WCW, and Bischoff's an asshole. Like, because that was the crowd. But that's not this day and age. This is not a small area wrestling fan. This is a group thing where they're trying to get ratings and they're trying to make a name for themselves, and they're still hitching their wagon to something that hasn't worked. So I hate to break it to you, but all of your ideas are good about this. None of them will happen because Dixie is going nowhere but down with the Titanic.
Like I said, I haven't watched TNA in years.
I think the last one to the last name to come into TNA and do it the right way, honestly, I think was Jeff Hardy. No,
I agree with that.
No, I'll say EC3. Because that I remember, he never cut one of those scathing promos on WWE.
Well, from what I remember when Jeff Hardy debuted, it was so fucking random and stupid because it was that night they were going head-to-head with Raw when Bret Hart returned, and they had him show up in the middle of some kind of cage X Division match, and he showed up at the end of it. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, it was their Dome Ultimate X thing, whatever it was. Yeah. What I take away from that night was the chair shot that almost killed Homicide.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Man, Homicide was such a great talent at one point in time. I wish he would have got a shot in WWE. Who's that?
You know who I missed from TNA? Is LAX. Homicide and Hernandez.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like them as a tag team. Yeah. Am I tripping, or was Shelly Martinez with them?
With who?
Or was it some other? With LAX. Who was with LAX? Didn't they have a chick?
Oh, God. Yeah, you're driving my memory. This is going back. This is going back to the fucking FOW days here. I hope Al's not listening.
That was the last time I watched TNA.
I really hope he's not listening because he's going to kill me if he listens how many times we drop the name of that website. But let's see. You got me looking at this now because now there was somebody. Salinas, was that her? Yes, you are right.
It was Shelly Martinez.
Very good.
Yeah. Under the name of Salinas.
Yeah. Give me props on that for a motherfucker who ain't watched TNA in a decade. Round of applause.
To be fair, that was about a decade ago.
And I've done a lot of beer and drugs since then, so I'm surprised I remembered that.
Hey, the beer part, you'd be right in with me and Mike tonight.
Well, sure.
No.
I was going to say Shelly Martinez has probably done a lot of that too since then. So it's
boy, did she have some. That chick had some big old bitties.
That is true. That is true.
Big old bitties.
She parlayed that wrestling career into other endeavors.
Yeah.
Chris, you get your first
but
one.
John, you remember the only reason I used to watch TNA back in the day, right?
What's that?
You don't remember the only reason I used to tell you guys I watched TNA?
Butter and Lesbian?
The only reason I watched TNA back in the day. You don't remember?
That was Chandra. That was Chandra. That wasn't you. I don't remember off the top of my head.
It was just so I could see Velvet Sky's luscious ass every week with the rest of the beautiful people. Her, Madison Sky, and Angelina Love. My God.
Chris, I got to tell you.
What?
Are you guys able to hear the sound effects at all or no?
Nah.
Yeah, I didn't. I heard something, but I don't know what it was. Did you do a? Oh, there you go. I got it. Ron Simmons joined the show.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
I gave you a jam.
Oh, by the way, I apologize for not asking this in advance. Or are we TVMA or TVPG or?
We can fucking say whatever the hell we want.
Alright, good shit.
Who's gonna stop us? Me?
Blog Talk Radio.
They haven't stopped us yet.
Chad Porto. Do you remember him? Oh, his dick would be hard as a rock if he knew we mentioned him on tonight's show.
God. About 20 minutes of TNA. And not even that kind of TNA, but Impact.
My God. Was there a single member of our crew back in the day that was more disliked than that guy? Oh, my goodness.
No. And this kid, not Chad, but the other one, has my utmost respect, even though I haven't talked to him in a few years, because there have been more polar opposites for two people to do a show than Chad Porto and Ed Scolio.
I liked Ed, though, man. Ed is a good guy.
Everybody liked Ed. Ed was a great guy.
Yeah.
Like I said, he has my utmost respect, because there have been two more polar opposites than Ed and Chad.
Oh, I know. And Ed's the one that brought Chad on board.
Damn you.
Oh, man, I remember they were doing FOW radio for a while, just him and Ed, and my God, was that shit brutal every time I called in for a fucking guest appearance.
You know, though, I would still, and this isn't slighting anybody I do the shows now, I would love to do shows. If, like the pay-per-view ones, I'd love to do shows with Ed Scolio. And again, I'm not saying that to slight you, Mike, or Mark. I love, you guys are my co-pilots. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying in general.
Ed was just he would be like our Jim Ross of the show in a way. He was just always respectful, polite, made great points. He used to always do the Dunphy's Dose podcast with me every Tuesday morning, if you recall, John, back in the day.
Yes, I do.
But Ed was definitely a good hand. I mean, he had a good perspective. He was pretty, unbiased for the most part, and always, whether I agreed with him or disagreed with him, I still respected his opinion. But anyway, let's get back to wrestling. I'm sure they don't want to hear about the skeletons in our closet from 10 years ago.
That was the Heat Magnet, brought to you by Angry Orchard and Bacardi. I'm only assuming that's what Mike's drinking.
I'm not drinking that. Are you kidding? You should know my cocktail selection. It was whiskey sours this evening, for the record.
Mark is with us in alcohol spirit.
Oh, very nice. I see what you did there.
Whoops. Okay, so we got about 5 minutes left here, guys. Really quick.
Yeah, I just looked and seen it was 9:53, and I was like, holy shit, I'm having too much fun talking to these guys. An hour and a half done passed. We'd have an extra 30 minutes, but John kept forgetting he could use his phone after I told him 3 times on Messenger. Did you hear about that, Mike?
Yeah,
I did not, but I know.
Mike was my therapy for a little bit, but
yeah.
No, I was trying to figure out. I was scared, Chris. To be honest with you, I was scared about the quality. I'm very, very happy. Has it come across? Everything come across good tonight?
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Yeah, I thought it came out
I'm very
solid.
pleased
It
with
was
how
so
the audio. That was horrible back in the day.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? When you guys do it on your phone. And we did it when we first started, but we signed up, and today was the first day of it. Blog Talk had a thing that's like a hi-fi beta. It's basically high-quality sounds, audio. Excuse me. And we're part of the beta testing for that. I've been very pleased with how it's turned out.
Well, there was there was this other program I used to use with Ed for Dunphy's Daily Dose, and I can't remember what it was. It was I don't remember what it was, but it still came off pretty good quality over the phone.
Wasn't it
But yeah, anyway, Mike, John messages me like, my mic's not working, damn it. And I was like, well, use your phone. And he was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Then 20 minutes later, he's like, we're going to have to cancel the show. My damn mic's not working. I was like, what about your phone? He's like, oh, I keep forgetting about that. And I'm like, dude.
He was having some microphone rage, and he was unable to see through his microphone rage.
Oh, yeah, because he was like, oh, phone, that's a good idea. Fuck you, Mike. What am I going to do? Oh, yeah, the phone.
I even dug out my old sound mixer. And I was getting ready to kick off the show, and I was about to be like, boys and girls, this is why you don't throw away your old toys. And then that one, it's not the mixers. It's got to be something with the connection into my computer. I had purchased new cords, like the RCA cords. So hopefully that works. We'll know next week. We got about 3 minutes left in the show here, so...
anything else wrestling related we can throw in real quick before we head off?
Nothing that I can think of. You and I will be... Are you around to talk after the show?
Yeah, I'm here. I might have to charge my phone for about... I might have to charge my phone for about 10 or 15 minutes, but I'll definitely be around if you're down to talk after the show.
This might be the most highly anticipated phone call in the history of the world.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Mike, what is coming up for you this week? Do you have anything on tap?
Well, as I mentioned before, I actually did just have something go up on TJR Wrestling today, which is basically what we've been talking about, which is a breakdown of Raw and SmackDown. There's some clips in it from the shows. I try, as usual, to put a little humor in that and keep it funny, which I think wrestling should be. It's serious, but it's funny, and that's what I love about it. So you can check that out on tjrwrestling.net. Let me know, what you think of my reactions to it, what your reactions were. And as you well know, John, you can always, reach me in the Twitter world because I do love my tweets. And I do love my GIFs. And I think I'm saying that I love my GIFs as well as my tweets. So if you enjoy GIFs and tweets, you can check out at Darman Rockwell. And next week, in addition to the fact that we have a big show to prep for, in terms of a SummerSlam preview, I will also have the SummerSlam preview up along with the wonderful people that help me through that and give me my counseling and alcohol therapy.
There we go. So, on that note, guys, as the strange British-sounding lady just told us, or if I'm the only one who heard it, really quick, Wrestling Then and Now, Evan and his and various friends in the wrestling world, visiting them. Check that out. Amazon Prime. At John MEM Radio, at the Mark Madison, and at WN_net is Wayne Daly, Wrestling-News.net. Was kind enough to house us each and every week at Darman Rockwell for Mike. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. And guys, that is going to do it for us. Be good, be safe, and Lord willing, you guys will be back with us next week, 8 p.m. Eastern. We do this all over again. Main Event Madness Radio, where the madness is, will be, and always will be unleashed. Take it easy, everybody.
And guess what?
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. If you missed a part or all of tonight's show, no problem. We're available on iTunes and also on demand anytime at ProWrestling.biz, Wrestling-News.net, and here at BlogTalkRadio.com/Main Event Madness. We are every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we hope you can join us. We're Main Event Madness. Madness Unleashed. Have a good one, everybody. So long.
Welcome to Staples.
Staples Guy, I've resolved to save my office money in 2017.
Well, during Staples' January printing event, you save big when you buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off.
Oh, that kind of savings will impress the boss. Maybe this year he'll stop calling me new guy Nick.
Well, there are worse nicknames.
I've worked there 6 years, and my name's Doug.
Resolve to save during Staples' January printing event. Buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off. Staples, make more happen.
Ends 1/14/17. See store staples.com for details. Restrictions may apply.
Welcome to Staples.
Staples guy, I've resolved to save my office money in 2017.
Well, during Staples' January printing event, you save big when you buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off.
Oh, that kind of savings will impress the boss. Maybe this year he'll stop calling me new guy Nick.
Well, there are worse nicknames.
I've worked there 6 years, and my name's Doug.
Resolve to save during Staples' January printing event. Buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off. Staples, make more happen.
Ends 1/14/17. See store staples.com for details. Restrictions may apply.